Today, it's Paul and Heather. We're talking about video games.
Good, that's what I signed up for.
This is CheckPoint. That's right. I got my CheckPoint mug. It's full of CheckPoint tea.
Was I supposed to get a gift bag on the way in?
No.
Oh, okay.
Only I get the mug.
Okay, that's fair.
Because we only have one, I think. The rest of
that
them are like...
can't be true. Oh, no, wait, they're all on set.
Yeah, the rest of them are like in our merch and they're on set or whatever.
You're right.
Yeah, but that's true actually. This tea is called Checking Them Points. And it is an official, well, not official, but it is a custom tea blend that somebody sent us on mail time. One of several for different shows.
Yeah. It's Paul and Hodor, the two who like tea.
Yeah.
On CheckPoint.
We should welcome some people who just arrived. Starting with...
Where are they from?
Here we go. Hellgiver 1987 is a new subscriber. Welcome, Hellgiver.
Just a Conspiracy, 14 months in a row. Get on the point. We are on the point. Thank you, Just Conspiracy, for reminding us.
The Mana Leak, which leak, as in the food.
The vegetable? It's a vegetable, right?
Yeah.
It's not a fruit.
For 30 months in a row.
Doom Sponge, the doomiest of sponges, is a new subscriber. Welcome.
Lord Crusher with those 100 bits. Thank you very much.
Jade Nim, 15 months in a row. Chill message for ChillPoint. Thanks.
Chill Austin Gaming is here for 20 months in a row. How appropriate.
Evlock is here with 100 bits. Mug for Heather Riot. No, I have a perfectly serviceable mug, but thank you for those cheers.
Kane SD for 58 months in a row. Thank you very much.
And Flying Ultra Car for 30 months in a row. Ooh, CheckPoint tea.
Derpy Chocolates for 30 months in a row.
And Judge Mortis is just subscribed. Welcome. I'm glad you could make it and put that time in your day.
Rockario for 19 months in a row. Wait, isn't that supposed to say gift a sub? Better fix that. Wait, is that something I need to fix or Twitch needs to fix?
I don't know. W. Nivik has cheered with a 500 bits, though. Here, have a few bits. Thank you.
Snake12341 for 10 months in a row. And on to my next child, I guess. Been here 10 months and hopefully for 10 months more. Maybe you should take like a little break between kids. You know, enjoy your kid growing up. Your sub baby.
Urist Cordy has subscribed for 3 months in a row. Pronunciation note. Urist is borrowed from fictional language in Dwarf Fortress that I've only ever seen as text.
Oh, so the pronunciation note is...
Yeah, well, literally, they did do
All
a
right,
shuggy.
yeah. Lucha Libro for 16 months in a row. Onward!
Amori Linguie. 8 months.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for everything, especially the inclusive welcomes to LRL. I'm glad
You are
enjoy
most
those.
welcome. All right. We will attempt to... maybe we'll like batch up the sub welcomes as we go, just because it can get a little weird to drop it after.
Yeah.
I know. I'm not saying you stop subscribing after 9 months. I'm just saying that you subscribe for 9 months and then use the next 9 months of subscription to enjoy your sub baby.
So here's the thing. They were talking about normal sub babies, but what I don't understand is why everyone's not having an alien sub baby, because those come out like immediately, from what I understand. Those
That's
are
true.
like every month. So you could have like 9 by now if you really wanted.
Yeah. I feel like that might be a little traumatic, though.
The whole process, regardless of which one, seems traumatic in one way or another, Paul.
Subtuplets. Ooh, I like that. That's when you have multiple sub-babies at once. All right. So, for those of you who don't know what's happening right now, I sympathize.
We don't either.
This is CheckPoint.
We do know.
Even though it may not look like it, because for various reasons, as you know, PAX Australia is coming up. Woo! Should be super cool. Both Graham and Kathleen are going to be going to that. And as you might imagine, there's a bunch of stuff that has to be done before they leave, which is like tomorrow. So we are... they had to do a bunch of stuff, and we didn't have time to do the full CheckPoint experience. So what we thought... So we're going to do the ChillPoint, which is basically the second part of CheckPoint after the actual CheckPoint is done, where we talk about all the stories that we didn't talk about. Except this time, the stories we didn't talk about are all the stories, because we're not doing a regular CheckPoint episode.
So we're going to talk about all the stories.
Yes, all the news stories that I thought were interesting. That all the news stories, because the thing is, whether we're actually going to do an episode of CheckPoint or not is often we don't necessarily know that far in advance. And so mostly out of habit, because I've been doing this for like 6 or 7 years now. Mm-hmm. I'm always like, when I see stories that I think are interesting, I'll always be like marking them and keeping track of them. And so I figured I might as well talk about these stories, even if we're not having like a full episode of CheckPoint. Right. We can still talk about the stories that I thought might be interesting if we had an episode of CheckPoint.
Right. So welcome to ChillPoint, CheckPoint as Interesting by Paul.
Yeah. All right, starting with, these are in no particular order. I think possibly reverse chronological order, but anyway. So, Thornbreaker, The Witcher Tales, is a new game that's coming out. Now, if you know The Witcher, mm-hmm. the game, has within it a game called Gwent, which is a card game, which has itself been spun out into a separate game.
Yes.
Now, Thornbreaker, The Witcher Tale, is a game, it's basically a sort of mini top-down, like, or three-quarter view RPG, in which all the combat and everything is done playing the game Gwent. So it's like another game where all the actual interaction is done through the card game of Gwent. So it's basically it's essentially a very involved tutorial on how to play the card game Gwent, but with like fully voiced cutscenes and stuff.
All right.
And apparently is really cool.
I would hope so. If you're going to make it complicated, at least make
isometric,
it cool.
Yes. And I've read a couple of reviews of people talking about it, that it's actually and it sounds a lot like, it's like, man, as somebody who I played Gwent just a little bit, like James and I played it a little bit on Games of Chance, and it seemed fun and it seemed quite interesting and different. Mm-hmm. And when reading about this Thronebreaker, the main thing I was thinking about myself, I was like, holy crap, this would be awesome, an awesome way to do, like, say, a Magic game, where trying to turning it into more of a game, as opposed to often what they do with these when they are trying to make like a game out of a collectible card game. They'll be like, here's a little story bit, and then just play against the AI in a regular game. Whereas this has all sorts of interesting stuff with, like, you have to play, except you're playing against the special. The other player is just playing like only one type of card because you're like fighting bandits or something. So anyway, it's kind of a cool idea. Also, for those of you who have played Gwent, the card game or the card game thing, it has actually gone through a lot of changes recently. For instance, like pretty, from what I understand, fundamental changes that sound like they're probably an improvement. So yeah, an actual story mode, as opposed to like story mode, but it's just more. It's just like little stuff between the games. So anyway, like I said, I don't know. Yeah, the Magic RTS was horrible. Exactly. So this might be a better way of doing it. Anyway.
Only time will tell.
Or
a bunch of reviews.
Yes. If only there was some way to decide on how good a game was before you had actually played it.
Maybe some kind of arbitrary rating system that people will dislike and hate all at the same time.
Well, maybe
I
someday
said
we'll
the
come
same
up with
thing
this
twice,
system.
but maybe some people will like it.
All right. WarioWare Gold.
Yes.
It's coming out for 3DS, or maybe has just came out.
It's already out.
Yeah.
It's been out for a little while now.
And there's a really interesting article. This was just on Kotaku. There's an interview with some people. And it was really interesting because, while at first glance, it appears to be just like a
kind of a best of
compilation thing.
Like what they did with like Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix.
Yeah, I think they took, there's something like 300 of the, whatever, 1,200 games that they've come up with for WarioWare over the years. From all the different things. So at first glance, it appears that they just kind of got the best games and stuck them together. But apparently, every game has actually been new, like has been rewritten from scratch.
Interesting.
All the graphics have been redone. The majority of the games have actually been tweaked and adjusted in different ways. Like, for instance, the nose picking game,
yes.
which I believe we talked about last session, last checkpoint. In the WarioWare Gold, there's all sorts of different noses that you can pick.
Oh, well, fancy.
Which is actually a thing that is a video game.
And you know that the nose-picking game must be one of the best because they put it in this game.
Yeah, yeah.
All other 900 games that didn't make it, trash.
Yeah, or at least were worse than the nose-picking game.
At least worse than the nose-picking game.
And apparently they've like changed, and they've changed the like character designs in some of the games so that there's like a little bit of sort of continuity, I guess, between. It's like any game that requires that involves like the people on screen are supposed to be like a couple. It'll be like the same couple, and so different games will depict different things in their relationship or something. It's just one of these weird things where it's like surprisingly large amount of effort going in for what is ostensibly just like a compilation thing.
Yeah, I mean, I figured they'd like up the graphic design and stuff because it's for the 3DS. It's got a demo out. See, I played it. I didn't care.
It's not, the WarioWare games haven't been like your thing.
Maybe it's just a bad demo. I've played games where the demos don't really show off games great, and then they end up being better when you go to play the game because it's just not.
Have you played previous WarioWare games?
Nope.
Oh.
That's why I didn't want to buy it. I wanted to play the demo. And the demo said to me, I might not actually spend time doing this, so...
I think it's a specific... in some ways, like, I like that in a lot of ways, WarioWare is essentially Nintendo making fun of the video game industry. Like, it's... The sort of overarching storyline is basically Wario is trying to get rich by putting out video games that are really crappy and short.
I think I've seen people play the one for the Wii. And it's like a party game thing that you have set
we like
up
pass
that
the thing back and forth. Yeah.
That seems interesting, but as like a one player, I'm going to play on my own experience that didn't really grab me.
It's fair. Catch up on subscriptions. Jaws77 is a new subscriber. Welcome.
Chronopticon, 2 months in a row. If only games had ratings so you could tell if they were even games or interactive cinematic experiences. If they go in my console, as far as I'm concerned, they're a game.
That opens up a whole can of worms, though. There was a time when, like, web TV was a thing. There's lots of consoles that can surf the internet. Does that mean all internet is actually a game?
Yeah. Have you not played the internet game?
Is life a game?
Yeah. Have you not been playing that? Really, it's kind of like you only get one life, though, so I really
the progression system is highly problematic.
I
don't like it.
haven't figured out how to add things to my skill tree yet.
Canoe Crasher for 17 months in a row. That's 10 plus 7 more. Man, Canoe Crasher must do a lot of blocking because math is for blockers.
Kasona, a new subscriber. Welcome to the channel.
Edgarware for 2 years. Dropping a train on him for 2 years. Nicely done, Edgarware.
Jaws77 has returned with 150 bits. This was the first stream I subbed to many moons ago. Happy to be back supporting. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I see. Yeah, you're a new subscriber, and then so that means you must have been a subscriber before. Welcome back, and yeah, it's great. You know, if you can subscribe, get that huge long sub train or sub
Those 60 alien babies
in a row. That's wonderful. But if you can't do that and you can just subscribe for 1 month, that's awesome as well.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do,
Whatever
we appreciate it.
Hey, even just hanging out is pretty cool.
That's true.
It's hard to have a show if people don't show up to it.
It's true. Then I mean, we don't know for sure people are watching, but I hope they are. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this whole Rockstar thing.
Yes, I've heard a few things about this one.
Yeah, so this has gone back and forth a lot over the last week or two about you know we there was this whole thing with that when Telltale went down about all the stuff came out about the working conditions being not great, and then one of the head guys from Rockstar, as part of a sort of promotional thing for Red Dead Redemption 2, mentioned that people have been putting in 100+ hours, 100+ hour weeks in preparation for the run for Red Dead Redemption 2 release, and then they've been spending the last week and a half or so walking that back as quickly as possible in different ways.
They definitely didn't seem to think that people would get outraged about that.
Like I think the way it was intended was it was part of one of these like just like throwing out numbers things.
Oh,
it's
sure.
like there's 100,000 hours of work into this. It's the work of 900 people. It's all these you know, we've been in development for all this time. There's 500 hours worth of content. We worked 100-hour weeks to do this. We did this. Like, it was sort of part of a thing.
Oh, sure. I mean, like...
And it's something that is not that weird to say, like in the sense of trying to, like, illustrate how much they believe in the product.
Oh, sure.
But at this time, and in the context of the video game industry, like, right now, very poorly said.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a weird competitive thing when you say stuff like that, right? Like, if I said, oh, I put 100 hours into this game I've been playing this week, it's just that good. That context is like, wow, maybe sleep a little bit more, but you chose to do that. You're playing a game for fun. The context of, hey, everybody put 100 hours into this thing and it was really great because everybody really believes in it, sounds great, until you realize how, like, there's only 168 hours in a week.
Yeah. So
that's if you take the idea that someone is sleeping 9 hours a night, the rest of those hours is just working.
Not cool. And so, you know, and there's been so some stuff has come out, sort of, obviously a lot of people have come out criticizing Rockstar quite rightly about having that thing. And then there's been a lot of stuff being like Rockstar has ostensibly given their employees free rein to talk about the issue on Twitter, which if you know stuff about these various video game companies from a PR perspective, there's been a couple of a lot of these companies generally have like blanket policies that like maybe don't talk a lot about your work on Twitter because it can lead to all sorts of stuff, which is a fair policy. And so apparently they've sort of lifted that for this topic, and they say you can talk about whatever you want. Which, you know, it's hard to look at that and it's like, yeah, that's a cool thing to do. If you're somebody who's really pissed off as a Rockstar employee that you've been working long hours, it's going to be hard to, like, no matter what the management says, it's hard to imagine that they're not going to have that in the back of your mind that, oh, that was the complaining guy.
Yes, yeah, probably. I mean, personally, I don't work 100 hours in a week, and I mostly don't have time to read my Twitter half the time, so I don't know how a person who works 100 hours in a week has any time to check their Twitter. Even to complain with a thing that's been lifted. But yeah, that's true. Like, hey, guess what? Paul, you can complain about me all you want. Go ahead, right now. I won't hold it against you. Not at all.
Heather is great. Everyone likes her, and I have nothing bad to say.
See? Clearly, I'm a great employee.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky topic, and it's obviously something that that is a big issue in the industry right now, and I think it's one of these things where the more like industry regulation can deal with it to some extent, but it's just the more the more sort of transparency and the more it is talked about as an issue, I think the better.
Oh, absolutely.
And because it's the more that that programmers and designers and employees know what is acceptable to be asked of them. Because this is an industry where like the television industry or the movie industry or there's industries and a lot of tech industries especially, there is you can't just say like people aren't going to do overtime because there's circumstances that require it for various reasons that are totally normal and fine reasons. It's the expected overtime and unpaid overtime.
Unpaid, expected, company culture.
And the company culture and the idea that in sort of exploiting people who are
younger.
Who are either younger or like super enthusiastic with this idea that like we can just like burn people out and there's always going to be a new person to fill their spot.
Crunch is supposed to be a thing that happens kind of in the same way as like study crunch at school, right? Where you're supposed to be preparing for that exam this entire time and maybe you're not quite ready and so you crunch at the last minute to try and get more thing. But you can't do that all year, right? That's how you burn yourself out. It's not unpaid overtime, I guess. It's more like overtime that's not being paid for. Like you're getting paid for the hours, but you're not getting paid for the overtime portion. From is what it sounds like from some of them.
Yeah. But it is a thing. Like I feel like it's a thing that really has to be addressed from a cultural point of view, because like if you put rules in place and be like you can't have people do overtime, like there's all sorts of if the will isn't there to fix it, there's all sorts of ways that rules like that can be sort of worked around if the will isn't there to actually make the system better. So anyway, obviously big issue, and hopefully the more of these, every time one of these stories comes up, it pushes a little bit more into people's minds, and maybe eventually it will hammer it. And people will actually be like, yes, that is a thing. And the more people won't, the more the employees won't accept that as a normal thing, and the more that managers won't.
Management also needs
management won't like build it into their projections. They're like, yeah, it'll be fine. We'll just crunch.
Not build it into your projections, but like I've read stories about people who are like, yeah, my manager, if they saw people working overtime, told them to go home. And that's important too, because that's helping to present a company culture that's like, no, it's great that you want to do that, but you can't. You shouldn't. Don't burn yourself out. We need you later.
Anyway.
We could go on all day about that topic, so.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, it's not even like a video game specific problem. The tech industry as a whole is, that sort of burnout and hardcore working thing is a problem in the larger sense as well. There was a really interesting article, at least interesting to me. Maybe this is something that other people already know, but about translating games. This was in Gamasutra. They're translating games the other way, which I'm used to reading about weird like English translations.
Oh yeah.
This was about translating an English game into Japanese, and talking about how. So I guess this isn't news, but anyway, but I found it interesting, so I'm going to talk about it. Talking about how the nuance in doing it, where a lot of the time translations will be given like a spreadsheet of all the lines of dialogue, and then the translators translate all those lines of dialogue. So
they don't necessarily have the context, but they have the
dialogue. But one of the big things about Japanese is that who the person is who's talking and who the person is that they're talking to will change a lot about how, what tenses, what kind of language they use, what tenses they use, how they refer to the other person. That kind of stuff is really important in Japanese, and if you don't have that context, it can be totally lost. And the other thing being that there's a lot of words that if a game is made in Japan will actually be English. Like, I mean, as you see from like rhythm game that you guys play, a lot of words, like individual words or phrases or things in Japanese games will be in English.
Yeah, they borrow words from the English language and some other languages too. I mean, we do the same thing.
And so when you and so if you just go like, we're going to make this game translated into Japanese and just translate everything in the game into Japanese, it'll look weird to Japanese people because it doesn't have those borrowed words in it. It'll be...
Oh, right. Yeah, because you actually kind of need the borrowed words in certain contexts, especially if you're doing like a younger character who might be talking about... because some of their borrowed words are actually kind of slang as well. Yeah.
Or especially in the video game domain.
Yeah.
There are words used for certain abilities or certain
kind of like magic
stuff that happens in video games specifically are often referred to by their English name or a transliteration of the English name. It's kind of funny. I was thinking about I used to work for a museum design company, and we did RFPs for overseas companies. And since we did one for a company where we had to translate it into Arabic, and so we got like a translator to translate into Arabic, and I was doing all the page layout for this RFP, and I got all the text back, and I realized that it's like, not only is this in a language that I don't read, it's not in, the characters are totally different, so I don't even know where I can like break lines.
Yeah.
So for like page layout, and then plus of course Arabic is a right to left language.
Right. So you need to be careful how you're putting it on the.
So if you're putting it on the page, and so I was like going to my boss, and I was like, okay, I can lay this out, I can like make it look pretty. But you have to send it back to the translators after I'm done
to make sure it
still makes sense to them. I'm not like breaking things in the middle of words or making it
so awkward.
Incoherent. Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're trying to get a job, you're trying to get a job in that part of the world. So obviously you want to be able to like illustrate that you can understand what they're doing.
Otherwise, it's just going to be like, oh well, they don't know what they're doing. Let's not hire them. Yeah.
Anyway. I just thought that was interesting. Zombie Kira for 9 months in a row. Thank you very much.
The great wordling just subscribed. Hey, welcome.
I am Riley PM for 18 months in a row. I was certain this was God. The streak remains.
Woo!
I'm assuming that's how that was intended to be pronounced.
All caps.
Because it was in all caps.
Robots. Yeah.
There's Grand Theft Auto 5. Very, very popular game.
Yes. I mean, there are 5 of them.
And it's one of these games that is always online. Even if you're playing the single-player game, it's always online.
I hate when they do that.
It's also a game that it's got this, like, MMO, not MMO, but, like, big multiplayer part of it called Grand Theft Online, and it's been notorious for hacking all over the place, like really bad. They've been having a lot of problems with hackers, not only like doing stuff like giving themselves tons of money, or making themselves invincible, or summoning a giant tank, or doing all sorts of stuff, but also like trolling other people. There's a thing that
Are people still playing this game?
There's a thing that we reported about where people were getting in trouble because like they were banning people who had done like duping hacks in order to get like tons and tons of money.
Okay, yeah.
As you might expect, they were banning people who did that. So trolls started doing a thing where they would like run in front of a regular player and just do a giant drop of like billions of dollars right in front of them.
Oh yes, I heard about this.
So the person is unable to prevent themselves from collecting all of this ill-gotten money
because they collect it so quickly. It makes it look like they did,
and so it looks like they
punished.
hacked, and then the innocent person gets banned.
Right.
Anyway, there's been a lot of issues with Grand Theft Auto 5. They've been working through each one as they come up. The latest one, because it's an always online game, is the latest issue made it so that people when you're playing online, were able to get your ID for your like Rockstar ID, which is this like secret code that is supposed to be like your uniquely identifiable thing. And I'm not entirely sure what the details are, but using that, basically, if you're playing online and then go offline, and then go into the single-player game, people from online could still start messing with your single-player game because you're still connected to the Rockstar, like, whatever, hangout place.
No. That's mean. That's amazing. And mean.
Yeah, and so you'd be like, somebody could be like trolling you, or somebody could be doing bad stuff to you in the online thing. You go into the single player to get away from that person, and they can follow you into the single player game, kind of like Freddy Krueger following you from your dream into real life.
Yeah, that's a thing I do not want. Didn't want him in either place to begin with, but definitely didn't want him in the second one.
So, as far as I know, at least according to the thing I was reading, Rockstar has quietly patched this without telling anybody that it was an issue to begin with.
I mean, yeah,
They've patched it now.
I wouldn't want people to know that was an issue
but,
either.
Apparently, yeah, it's all part of the continuing saga of the highly questionable netcode.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, the Trollergeist. I like that.
Goodness.
So here's something that will probably not succeed. Intellivision is going to be bringing out a new console in 2020. Expected release date is October 10th, 2020. So 2 years, little less than 2 years from now. Their price point is going to be between $149 and $179.
Okay, that's...
Every single game for the platform will be exclusive and will cost between $3 and $8. It will launch with several built-in titles and have over 20 more games in its online store.
Okay. What exclusives are going to be on this platform exactly?
We don't know, because they're exclusive. They haven't been invented yet.
Alright.
Like, there's no way there's going to be any games for this that aren't either made by Intellivision or paid for by Intellivision.
I don't know if I can name a single Intellivision game. It's the thing.
I guess
I
they'll...
mean, sure. What do they make?
Yeah,
I know they're making a new console.
I love this. There's a great quote. "We are creating a console that parents want to buy, not that they were asked to buy." Which is a bold move to, like, target a console at parents. It's like, we want a console that kids will be kind of like, meh, but but you know, it'll be the only thing you have, so I guess it's fine.
Which parents?
That's their target market.
That target market, that specific quote sounds like it's from the 80s, where it's like, well, parents aren't buying video game consoles. Most parents there are plenty of parents who buy video game consoles now because they grew up with games and they want to share games with their kids. They aren't asked to buy them. They do just have them sometimes. I don't know, like...
Yeah.
Did this person time travel from the past?
This is the console for confused grandmothers. Yeah. It's like, most every game made for home consoles these days is created only for the hardcore gamer in mind. See WarioWare Gold.
Yep.
We see a world where everyone is interested in playing at home and with friends, but this isn't currently possible because the barrier to entry is nearly impossible for the non-gamer due to the complexity of controllers, intricacy of gameplay, and expense of hardware and software, and steep learning curve with unbalanced fun factor for the beginner. Our goal was to create a console that both gamers and non-gamers are able to have fun with and play together. It's like, yeah, that's why the Wii was so successful. It's like... and this is not going to be released for 2 years. Best case scenario. Like,
have they only been watching speedrunners? Like, do they not know that there are plenty of other games that exist? Like, barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Is, like, for just a game of some sort, is fairly low.
Or like phones.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody showed them like a phone game, I don't know if their heads might explode. Like, I don't know.
I'm confused. Where is this person from? What time period did they come in from?
This reminds me. I always loved the great demo for the Wii U of Reggie and the head of Nintendo in Japan doing like a video call, illustrating the new video call technology in the Wii U, as if video calling was like a new thing
and no one had ever seen
that no one had ever seen before. It's like, look at this, I can see you and I'm waving and you can see me. Isn't this amazing? It's not just my voice, it's visuals as well. And it's like, yeah, how we are currently viewing you is through a stream over the internet. That's a thing that exists. It's like, this is not new technology that you guys have come up with.
And finds out he's actually behind the TV and it's fake.
Anyway, so this seems like, I mean, this is sort of clearly...
Oh no, there's some television titles in this article. Like Shark, that classic.
Oh yeah. Oh, here we go. Here's the full list of games that are expected to be available at launch. Astro Smash, Shark, Baseball... Right, this is back in the day. See, the Intellivision, for those of you who don't know, the idea here, the Intellivision was like one of the OG consoles, like before Nintendo, like before the
crash,
before the game crash, and then Nintendo kind of brought it back. This was like up, you know, it was in there with like Amiga and stuff, or Atari.
I think Atari. I was not really paying attention or playing these video games at this time.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, and so Intellivision titles like Astro Smash, Shark, Baseball. So a lot of the games back then were named just the thing.
Yeah, and there wasn't a lot of sports.
So like baseball, Night Stalker, skiing.
Oh, I can't wait for Math Fun.
Utopia, Frog Bog, Frog Factions?
Frog Factions 5.
Boxing, bowling, triple action. Tron Deadly Discs. Oh, there you go. Tron Deadly Discs. Cloudy Mountain, Star Strike, horse racing, auto racing, which is presumably the same as horse racing, but they just swap out the sprites. B-17 Bomber. Anyway, so the target market for this is people who don't know how to play video games, but for some reason want to play video games from the early 80s.
And clearly are from the 80s. Like, they've all time traveled forward with this person.
Yeah. So children from the early 80s who for some reason haven't grown up over the last 30 years.
They were locked in stasis.
Yeah.
They're being let out. They don't know that for $179 you probably get a 2DS.
Maybe Intellivision has like some line on like a Fallout-esque bunker that's been sealed all these years that's going to open up, and there's going to be a whole bunch of people coming out desperate for this kind of technology, and they're going to be like on the ground floor. That's going to be their market.
Maybe.
Anyway,
I guess. I just don't. I'm curious to see who buys that outside of a collector.
and even then, it's like, what are you collecting? I guess if you're collecting
there
weird
people,
consoles.
There are people who collect specifically consoles. Like, there are people who do buy every single version of, say, the DS that comes out or the 3DS. They buy all, like, the Wii versions and stuff, and that's the thing they do.
Yeah,
I don't know why, personally, but they do.
I like the idea, though, that's like, we've targeted our new console at people who buy every console regardless of how good they are. That's our target demographic.
That's like, a target market I can understand more than this one.
That's an easy market to get into, though.
That's like that's one that you do a pre-order on. And you go, okay, cool. There's like 6 of you.
Okay.
We've got this thing locked.
All right. Pokemon, let's go.
Pokemon, let's go.
Which is going to be awesome. And
I hope so, because I'm planning to buy it.
Yeah. But one of the features they've talked about is that there's going to be master trainers.
Yeah, so this will be new.
Which are basically people who you meet in the world who you can only fight after you've actually beaten the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they are trainers who have only one Pokemon, and they'll only fight you if you have that same Pokemon.
Yeah, they got a little cloud bubble above their head with the Pokemon that they want to fight you with, so that you know, and you have to fight them with that same Pokemon, no items, and it's just a one-on-one fight.
So you find like the guy who's like, I've spent my entire life
training a Charizard.
That is who I am. And then you're like, okay, cool. Here's my Charizard. Oh, I beat you.
My understanding is
your life is empty now.
Their Pokemon though have, at least in the ad I watched, was like they have surprising moves. So I don't know if they necessarily.
Oh, they have got like special.
They might have special moves. And the ad was just kind of like, see if you can beat them all. I don't know how many of them there.
I have built the ultimate Caterpie.
Is the article suggesting there's 151 of them?
Yeah, there's one for every Pokemon.
Wow, that means you have to catch all the Pokemon.
Yep. So
that you can fight them. And then train them. Actually, that's an interesting after-story mode.
Yeah.
In Pokemon, usually once you finish like the whole story, doesn't have a ton of stuff to do outside of go and try and catch the rest of them to finish your Pokedex.
Wait a minute. I feel like Pokemon is now encouraging people to catch all of the Pokemon.
Yeah. Gotta catch them all. Which was a tagline they did drop for a while, but got brought back later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At point, they're just like, catch them all or not.
There's like 800
There's lots of
Pokemon, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
that'd be a good tagline. There's a lot of Pokemon. You don't have to catch them all. Catch most if you can.
It's like you show back up, and Professor Oak's just like, "Oh, that's a good job. You did 120. Well, I guess that's the best you can do."
Yeah. That's basically all the Pokemon. Like, there's a few others, but nobody really cares about those ones.
No one really expects you to go catch that Mewtwo since there's only like one.
Gotta catch some.
And I've sent out like 6, 12-year-old, 10-year-olds to go and catch Pokemon for me and fill out this thing. But I expect only one of you will manage to do it since there's only one of that Pokemon for some reason.
Yeah, I've sent out 6 kids before you. They never came back, but it's fine.
Don't worry, this year's batch gonna do it.
I feel good about it this year.
This year.
So anyway, it seems like a neat idea, and also you get to find like the Caterpie master. It seems like I've read I've watched videos or like read things about when people like have beat the crap out of Pokemon. They'll be like, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play like Pokemon Red, but only using Ditto or whatever. Like there's like weird or like the Nuzlocke runs or whatever, like weird challenges. It seems like this is you have to fight against a guy who's been doing that.
Yeah.
Who was like, I'm playing Pokemon with just my Charizard. Only one Charizard. Only gonna do that one thing. That's all I'm gonna do. Like now you have to fight that guy. Mm-hmm. Except you have all the Pokemon.
The end of the video that they showed for this has shows the Metapod trainer, and Metapod just uses Harden, and
right.
I feel like that has to be a throw to the anime where there's a trainer that Ash comes across who has a Metapod, and they get into this fight where they literally both have Metapods, and they just yell Harden, and because that's like Metapod's only move. So and there's no fighting going on.
So how does that even work?
Well, it didn't work very well in the anime. If you start your Pokemon as like a Caterpie though, and evolve it, usually the Metapod retains like a tackle move. So I don't know if it's going to be a thing of like you fight the Metapod trainer and it only knows the one move, but that seems pretty funny to me, so kind of okay with that.
I appreciate the guy who's like he's dedicated his life to Magikarp or Metapod or one of the Pokemon that don't really do much. He's like, I'm committed to it now. I've spent 50 years of my life working on this.
I like the idea of this mode. It feels like an actual reason to go and try and get all of the Pokemon as opposed to just doing it for filling a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Mario Odyssey's got some Halloween spoopiness happening.
Getting zombies.
Which,
anyway.
Well, you get there's a zombie outfit, which is cool. But the more fun thing is there's a horror-related hat outfit, which is just an axe. So it's just like Mario with an axe in his head.
You do.
And the axe has like googly eyes on it. And you throw the axe at people.
I do want to see that cosplay. That's a good Halloween costume. You can get the axe things you just have to add googly eyes. That's great.
So
that I want to see.
So there's all these videos now though of just like Mario like throwing an axe at Peach or whatever. It's just like this is terrible.
If that's the hat, that's what he's gonna throw.
Yeah.
That's horrifying. I'm a little surprised they're still putting out. I mean, they've been putting out costumes for this game every so often, and there's like little pictures with like hints and stuff that if you go find in the game, you find like a little Luigi and get some coins or something as an additional thing you can do. Some hint puzzles outside the game. I'm a little surprised they're still doing some of that.
I guess
but it's kind of neat.
Yeah, as long as it continues to be as long as there's enough demand. I mean, it was a pretty darn popular game. So.
It's a really good game. It's a lot of fun, and I didn't want to get it initially because I was bored of Mario, and then I played it on New Day Tuesday, and then I was like, well, this game is mine now. Sorry, Office.
Can't be bored of Mario.
Yes, you can.
This message brought to you by the Nintendo Corporation. All right, what else we got going on here? In other than Gwent anyway, video game online card game action. A bunch of cards, 3 cards specifically, have gotten nerfed in Hearthstone.
Oh,
and
no.
I don't know. I keep reporting on these things like cards getting changed in Hearthstone and all this stuff, just because I find it so fascinating. From having been being so into like the Magic thing, and the like, it just seems so like wrong and arbitrary. Where with these online only card games, they'll be like, that card isn't working too well. Let's just make it one more mana. And then boom, it's fixed. Or whatever. And it's like, you can't do that. That's what the card is. You can't just change it. And it's like, yeah, they can. They can. The thing it was like, it was too easy to cast at 5 mana, let's make it 7. It's like, what? You can't. What? Oh. Huh. That's weird. But anyway, so I unless I'm not super into.
More?
Sorry.
They've made them cost more, or
yeah, they've made a bunch of the cards cost more, in order to
fix them.
In order to make that so that they're not quite so degenerate.
Ah, okay. 'Cause then you
like
can't
they're
pull them out right away and.
Because what's interesting about Hearthstone stuff, and especially, is that because it's all online, they have perfect information.
Yeah, and they've got full control of those cards then.
Yeah.
Whereas like Magic, if you've got like a printed off card, like those usually just get banned or they get reprinted later, but the earlier versions are banned.
Right.
But you can't. It's not like you can. It's not like WotC can show up to your house and take a Sharpie to your card to fix it. That's insane. They don't have that kind of time.
Yeah. And the like in this case, and because Hearthstone has like perfect information throughout for the game, they know exactly everyone's deck. They know they have statistics for every single thing that happens in the game. And so, for instance, they can see that there's one type of mage deck that uses this one particular card. When normally a normal game you would expect to have like 50-50 between over thousands and thousands of games. The win-loss ratio works out about 50-50. When this card is in the deck that has that card has a 65.9% win rate, which is a huge swing. So they were like, maybe that's something messed up. So anyway, it's kind of funny to mess with that kind of thing. To look at those, and see those kind of statistics and see how they can change all the balance so easily, as opposed to Magic where they have to really agonize over different things. All right. In other Red Dead Redemption news, the game is obviously incredibly highly sought after.
It's going to be a popular game. Yeah.
Super stoked about it.
The first one I hear is quite good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first one. But the trick is now with online sales and stuff and digital downloads. The physical access to the game isn't necessarily as important. But that doesn't mean to say that video game stores are completely out of the picture, except if you're an independent video game store. And this has just came up recently that if places like Best Buy or Amazon or whatever, they're not having any problem, but all of the independent game stores have been informed by their distributors that they're not going to be getting the physical copies of Red Dead 2 until like a week later.
That's really...
Which is super crappy. Because... Because people will just... And if you can't get it from the store you want to get it from, you'll just either get it off Amazon or just download it or something.
That has to be a thing between companies and the distributor to do that, though. Because there's no benefit for a game to not go to all the stores where people can just buy it otherwise. That's just a move to benefit larger stores.
Yeah. So presumably it's maybe it's something that they don't have enough physical copies or something. Related to this, if you are planning on getting Red Dead Redemption 2, which I'm sure a lot of people in chat are, regardless of whether you're getting the digital version or the physical version, make sure you got a lot of space on whatever device.
What day one patch is they?
No, it's not a day one patch, but its install size is just under 100 gigabytes. It requires 99 gigabytes of free space.
Okay,
unless you're on the PS4 and doing the download version, in which case it requires 150 gigabytes.
But
50 of which you'll get back after it installs.
Wait, what?
It's got to download a 50 gigabyte thing and then decompress it into the 100 gigabytes and then.
Goodness. But you said regardless of whether you get the digital or the disc copy, which says to me that most of the game is not on the disc then.
No, if you get the disc copy, it won't have to download it. It'll still have to load it off the discs, of which there are 2 in the box. We're back to this. We're back to the gameplay disc and the loading, the install disc and the gameplay disc. They're literally going to be called that.
Wow.
The gameplay disc and the install disc. So presumably,
how long has it been since we had a multi-disc release like that?
Yeah.
In that sense, whoa, okay. There's a lot of time traveling going on in this episode of ChillPoint.
So yeah, this is it's don't and don't, so don't, and this probably goes for us here at the office here. If you're planning on playing it, don't be like, this is great, I'm going to play it right now. I'm just going to quickly go to the store and buy my discs, come in and stick it in my drive and start playing. If, for example, I don't know why you would be doing this, but if, for example, you had to stream the game to 1,000 people, you might want to get in there in advance and do that. I'm sending this message out to James or whoever will be streaming that game for Loading Ready Run.
They don't watch the show, Paul. You might need to put that in our Slack.
I might need to
maybe
do that,
to target your messaging a little bit more.
That's shade in the sense that it's something. I mean, I've done the same thing too.
Oh yeah, no. There's so many games where it's just like, cool, put the game in, even if it doesn't do that. There's
day one patches.
There's a day one patch, or there's some other thing, and yeah, no. I put all my games in the system and check them before I stream them these days, because you just can't.
Yeah, the worst thing is games that you stick in and they're like there, and it's like, okay, cool, the game is ready to go, and not until you launch it, then it goes like, okay, now we'll install.
Oh no, yes.
Because I often don't want to actually like launch the game.
Yeah, you don't want to see the beginning
because there might be like a beginning thing that you want to share with everybody.
You want to share that experience with everyone. You don't want to be spoiled on the like first 5 seconds. Because sometimes you don't know what'll happen in the first 5 seconds.
Well, and sometimes games like you can't replay that bit too. Like you can't play the opening again. You only get to see it once.
No.
Anyway. So yeah, Red Dead is a large game in pretty much any metric that you choose to use. Popularity, price, hours of the developers who have to do overtime, file size on your computer,
and horse genitals.
Well, that depends on the weather.
Yeah,
is whether they're large or not. EVE Online is a game.
Yeah, I hear about it a lot on CheckPoint, actually.
Yeah, it's a fun game to talk about. So it is not currently available to play in China for a variety of reasons. It used to be, and then it was not.
Oh. Okay.
And as you may know from various other CheckPoint stories or other things, releasing a game in China, especially an MMO like online style game, can be somewhat fraught with regulatory issues. And also just giving it, opening it up to a whole new player base that is often has this sort of different expectations and different hardware and all sorts of stuff like that. So they're going to be releasing theoretically, EVE Online is going to be coming out in China, and again. And there are people who do sort of data mining in the
yes,
things.
I like me a data miner.
Have found out that apparently, at least possibly they're going to be just for China, or possibly they're going to be like testing it in China and then moving it to the greater thing. Mm-hmm. That they're going to be releasing a new type of, or adding a new type of ore in the game that doesn't do anything. So it's a new type of thing that you can mine for that doesn't do anything. What it will be used for is if you if you're cheating or get doing something nefarious, you will be banned from the game for most of the game until you can mine this ore, a certain amount of this ore. Basically, you get put on like old-fashioned chain gang. in your spaceship where you have to start mining asteroids until you get this until you get enough of this ore to like buy your way back into the good graces of the game.
So odd. So yeah, okay, so the term of space jail in this article headline is kind of accurate.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Not just a fun thing to say.
I am a huge fan of games that have creative ways of punishing.
Oh, sure.
Like there was a great thing with Final Fantasy. I think it was Final Fantasy 11, where cheaters would actually be teleported to a dungeon, and when like a mod would be like, or like an admin would be like, make them stay in, like, and so if they logged out and logged back in, they just log into this like dungeon for a certain amount of, like, instead of banning them completely, they could still log into the game, but they couldn't do anything because they'd be in this jail cell. And stuff like that. Like, I appreciate that. And I don't know whether this is going to be a thing that, you know, obviously this is not actually something that is like out there yet. This is just something that people have found and figured out from data mining. So who knows, you know, maybe it won't actually be implemented.
Well, and that's the thing with data mining, right? Like data mining will get you information that is currently there, but it isn't necessarily all the information yet, because sometimes they still have more they're putting in, or they're testing, or they're going to change it.
Yeah. I mean, we've done a bunch of stories on CheckPoint about like stuff they found in like Dark Souls that was never used in the game, but it's just like potential things that they thought of.
Yeah.
So maybe they won't actually end up using this. Maybe it'll only be in China. Maybe they'll do it in a larger thing. But
I don't know. I feel like,
as somebody who doesn't play EVE but enjoys silly punishing of cheaters, I approve of this strategy.
Yeah, sure.
But then again,
I'm
that's not a great like person to listen to if you're looking for me. If you're looking for like a good gauge of whether it's a good idea to put in your game.
I mean, I'm curious to see how it ends up working out if they do use it. Like if we'll hear about this story like down the line later, where it's like, turns out people want to go to space jail. Turns out space jail not effective. You know.
Is the ore tradable? That I'm assuming not, because that would defeat the entire purpose. I think
you probably need to trade it in order to keep playing the game.
If you can literally buy the ore that you like, literally buy your way out of thing. While I feel like that would be appropriate for the nature of EVE as a game, I feel like that would largely defeat the purpose of it as a punishment mechanism within the game. It just making it like a fine in the game, which I feel like wouldn't really work that well. But it would be funny. So.
Oh, yes, I had heard about this.
So, Spider-Man, the Spider-Man game, I think it's just called Spider-Man, isn't it? But the new Spider-Man game, James and Matt played it on the stream a while ago anyway. It's supposed really, really good. It's supposed to be.
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
But the one negative thing I've heard about it,
yes,
is that
the silliest negative thing I've heard about it.
There was some consternation, and that early screenshots of the game that they released looked there's this idea that they looked better than the game actually did on release, so that they were fudging it somehow with the early screenshots. And then when the game was actually released,
that happens with some games.
No, that does happen with some games, and it's not a great. You know, obviously, that's depending on what extent it's done, it can be problematic. But one of the things that was pointed out that was illustrated as a thing that made it lesser quality is that they would like show a scene and it'd be like, look, in the demo, like in the pre-release screenshots, there were like all these puddles with cool reflections and stuff on them. But in the final thing, there's just this like one puddle and it's not really reflective.
It's not a really good puddle.
And
they took out all my jumping puddles. And
so clearly, you know, with the idea being that that's like indicative that they were going to have more complex like reflection mapping system, and then they decided to drop it or something like that.
Yeah.
That's ostensibly that's the idea. According to the company, anyway, that's all bullcrap. That like that's not a thing. That the reason why there may have been more puddles in an earlier version, maybe they have tweaked. They might have tweaked the like environment settings, or maybe that's because there's in real time weather in the game. Maybe that screenshot was taken right after it rained.
Yeah.
Which is apparently a thing in the game. Anyway, so according to the company, anyway, it's not a thing, but they had some fun because they just added like a new.
Yeah, they've added a couple of things recently.
And they've added a more in-depth picture taking system in it. And one of the things that you can have like items that you can add to the scene to like set up your thing, and so they've added puddles, so you can add as many puddles as you want to your scene before you take your screenshot.
As like a sticker though, right? Like,
yeah.
Like it looks silly.
Yeah, and so
yeah, I've seen a few things from this patch because I think someone also pointed out that you could recreate this meme of Spider-Man pointing at another Spider-Man. That looks really silly, and I'm like, yes, I this is the kind of patching I like to see. This is kind of.
Yeah, let me
show
if I can
get on that overlay.
Show this picture. So and so like one of the designers is like, there. Not only are we releasing New Game Plus, but now you can put as many puddles as you want in. Look at that. Perfect. Problem solved.
Yep.
So, anyway.
I'm going to put so many puddles in so many places.
It's silly.
If I ever play that game, which I kind of want to, so maybe I should. It looks
I appreciate game. I appreciate when game developers not only have a sense of humor, but have have enough, I guess, that they consider it worthwhile to not only like make a joke, but actually like build a joke into the game. And
adding in New Game Plus afterwards too is interesting, I think. Just because it's like usually that's just already part of the game.
That's true.
As part of your replayability, but the game's been out for a while now. Most people have played it. I feel like adding in a New Game Plus now, more people might be interested in checking out New Game Plus than if it was just part of the game, and they were like, "Oh, that's a thing I can do. Well, maybe I'll come back to that."
As Assassin's Creed.
Which one?
Origins, the new, like not the newest one, but the Egypt one.
Yeah.
I haven't played the newest one yet, but Origins did a similar thing to that, where they after 3 or 4 months they released the like walk around and learn about Egypt mode, and then with that they also released a basically like a New Game Plus. They released a New Game Plus, and then as part of that there's actually a neat thing where it's like basically you can hack the animus to like change like stuff in the game, so it's like people are all everyone is has very high stats, everyone has really low stats, or like the ostensibly the idea is that you're like, it's supposed to be that you're like hacking the animus, which is kind of a neat idea. But so hopefully you're buying the game. You're not buying the game for the New Game Plus. But having that added in is a nice little feature.
But I do think that if you already have it for some games, you might be like, cool, I finished this game, I'm going to put it down for a bit, maybe I'll come back to that. But if you hear about it being added later, you're like, oh yeah, I really liked that game, and yeah, I could go for playing it now again. Sure. Especially
like an open worldy game like Spider-Man, where there's probably all sorts of stuff to do. Like there's like the mission stuff, and there's just like collectible things, random widgets, bare asses, whatever.
I hear they do it really well. Like people are not actually complaining about those mechanics so much as they would in another game that maybe doesn't do it so great.
And then I want to talk about this because this is actually kind of a neat. There's a Kotaku article about Nice Shot, which is a game in which you play golf using a gun, which may be familiar to you if you've watched.
Sounds like a watch and play.
If you've watched Watch and Play, because Graham and Alex played that, and it was a game made for Watch and Play. It was actually made by some fans of. I mean, it wasn't made for Watch and Play. It was also made as a game. But the people who made it are fans of Watch and Play.
Oh, well, that's awesome. It sounds ridiculous.
And so I was like, "Hey, it's showing up in actual as an actual release on. It's available 9th of November, which is incidentally the day Desert Bus starts.
Oh, well.
So you'll have to choose, I guess. Either gun golfing.
We all know
or
that
Desert
you can't
Bus.
play a game later. You have to play it the day it comes out, or it disappears forever.
Yeah.
It's why people are so intense on getting new releases on new release day.
Mm-hmm. And I can pretty much guarantee that this will not require 100 gigabytes of space on your computer to install.
But wouldn't that be amazing?
So, what do we even do with 100 gigabytes?
Bitcoins? I don't know.
It's your solution to everything.
No, my solution to everything is fire. and I feel like you wouldn't have appreciated the fire response in that one, so I tried to come up with a real one, Paul.
How much fire can you fit in 100
gigabytes?
gigabytes? It seems like that's a lot of fire.
Probably quite a bit. It depends what kind of fire you're talking about. Are we talking COVID fire? Because I assume quite a bit. If you're talking fire, like physical fire, that depends on how big that hard drive is.
That's true. It's true.
Like if it's a really old 100 gigabyte hard drive, I can put more fire on that because there's more physical space.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway. So that was all the news that I had marked today. It's a fairly eclectic mix. I don't know which one of those stories would have turned into a real CheckPoint story if we were actually doing CheckPoint. But who knows?
My bet is the Zombie Mario would have been like the today or coming up.
That would have been high up
thing,
there, yeah.
Just because that's a pretty funny visual. And then
we definitely probably would have talked about, maybe we would have done like a Red Dead Redemption 2
yeah, because there's quite a bit of Red Dead Redemption 2.
So we might have combined a couple of those stories together.
I can see that getting combined. I feel like the Pokemon maybe coming up, but maybe not. That one probably would have just maybe not. If
Beige was
Beige
on
was
it,
in it,
we would have probably done the.
We'd be doing some more of the Nintendo stuff, yeah. The puddle stickers.
Puddle stickers we might have done, yeah. That seems like something
strong,
we could make fun of people for.
Mm-hmm.
And Eve, we do enjoy doing that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard about the whole Crunchyroll Funimation thing.
I didn't hear about that until Ian told me about that because I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, I guess
Sad
they're
pants.
They're not doing their, which is weird. They only joined together maybe a year ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird that they're canceling that.
More like no Funimation. Taking away our Funimation.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, is it new ownership? That would make sense.
Oh, Sony. Bought it. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
They don't want to be in bed with anyone. Aw, that makes me sad for Sony. So lonely.
Does that mean I'm gonna get to see more Marvel characters in my Japanese animation? Probably not. Probably not. That sounded fun in my brain, but I remembered how actual anime works, and that's not how that works.
It's gotten to the point where I assume I kind of assume that Disney or Sony owns everything, unless otherwise specified. I'm like, that's probably a Disney
Sony only has
or a Sony property.
Wait, I want Sony to give up Spider-Man because I like Spider-Man and I'd like to have those movies done by people I can trust to make good movies. Although the last one was quite good, so.
Which was, I believe the last Spider-Man movie was it was done by Marvel. Yeah. Even though Sony still sort of owns Spider-Man, they're like, okay, wait, we can't. Can you guys make us a movie? We don't know how to do it. Yes. Our movies aren't working.
If they give Spider-Man back to Marvel, and Disney owns Marvel, then Spider-Man can be a Disney princess, and I could really go for that. I'm a Disney princess Spider-Man.
The costume would be a tricky thing.
Well, just put one of those monarch mushroom crowns on him. We'll fix it.
No, I'm just thinking that you wouldn't want to have a princess dress. He would movability of it would be tricky to fly, especially when you're flying above the city top or the buildings. On your webs and stuff, you don't. It's not really dress.
You can make
activity.
A shorter. Well, yeah, but that's formal wear dress. I think would be separate, and I think he'd have maybe a shorter, much more a tutu. Yeah, like a tutu tiara type thing, because that would work better.
That's fair.
Also, his tutu would totally be made out of webbing, and it would look super cool.
I mean, of course, there are lots of female characters within the Spider-Man canon. In fact, wasn't there a thing that Gwen Stacy was Spider-Man for a while?
Yeah, she's got the really cool hoodie
with the hoodie thing.
Yeah, and her
that's
design's
cool.
Awesome.
Anyway, I don't know that much. My knowledge of superheroes these days is mostly confined to the Marvel movies. And then also in-depth reporting or in-depth stuff on random YouTube videos where it's here's the whole Infinity Crisis or whatever in a 20-minute video. That I like to watch sometimes, and then I can be oh, hey, that's a cool thing. I'm glad I didn't have to read 500 comic books to find out all about it across 10 different series.
I mean, who's got time to read 500 comic books when there's 560-hour games to play?
Exactly. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching.
Were there any new subs?
Oh, there's probably some.
We should maybe do those before we.
Senatostman is a new subscriber. Welcome.
Oh, as is Thimble's Edge. Welcome.
Treading the Thimble's edge. LaGrange is my homie for 30 months in a row. Just dropping off my 30-month anniversary. I am off to vote. Cheers, everyone. Catch you in the VOD. Good job with the voting.
And welcome back to that VOD. Me, Justin, you, chat. 17 months in a row. Keep up good germ. Okay. Thank you.
Muscle Wizard 1, 2, 3 for 18 months in a row. 18 months? Time sure flies with you guys. Wow. Was Muscle Wizard 1, 2, 3, if you're subscribed for 18 months in a row, that must have been before Ben Wheeler talked about his Muscle Wizards Highlander deck on North 100. So you're very very prescient.
Xanto 69, nice, with the 50-bit cheer for ChillPoint. Thank you.
Woo. And just programming updates. There's no Dice Friends tonight.
There won't. Oh no, wait. There is one last Dice Friends before Desert Bus.
And we didn't think there would be any more, but there's something special happening next Monday. We have a special Dice Friends happening that just a one shot.
That will be on this channel at 6.
Yes. And it's not going to be exceptionally spoopy. This will be after Halloween. This won't be after Halloween.
No, it won't be, but it won't be spoopy.
It's not exceptionally spoopy.
Not like a Halloween spoopy thing.
But anyway, so that'll be a cool thing. Also on that day, next Monday, will probably also be a ChillPoint for similar reasons as to why it was today. Graham and Kathleen will be in Australia.
As will Beach, who's usually the backup. So we kind of ran out of backups.
And also probably it's going to be the chill point for the next little while. Don't count on a full episode of CheckPoint for a little bit.
Like, I mean, ChillPoint is, as far as I'm concerned, ChillPoint is better than no point.
It's true. I would argue, seeing it as the part that I'm on camera, is it being the best part of CheckPoint.
CheckPoint is 100% better when Paul is on camera. I will agree.
And then tomorrow we've got the regular schedule of stuff happening. Although the people who are actually on those things might be slightly different than normal. But I think we've got the mostly regular schedule. Wait, do I have the thing? Let's see. Whoop.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
9 o'clock, except, 9 o'clock is probably the way it was. New Day Tuesday is going to be...
Do we, let's check Slack.
You can find out.
I can find out. Because James did the thing. Tuesday is Dark Souls Remastered.
Oh yeah, the new Dark Souls coming out
Adam.
for which is out for Switch now.
Yeah.
And what else we got going on here?
PUBG Customs on one more with James.
Yep, and then we got more Stellaris on Talking Sim with Cam and Corey.
Yeah.
Which needs to be updated.
The closed caption team, CC.
I hadn't heard of that before.
No, I just made that one up because I was thinking about how people like to call us PH Balance.
I like that.
So I like
also,
the idea of that being like closed captioned.
CC.
Yeah.
And then, we got the normal stuff going on. LRRMTG on the Magic Channel. We got Watch and Play. We got AFK, which may actually be a CTS as opposed to an AFK.
Yeah, the schedule in our Slack has a lot of question marks for that time period, so I guess we'll have to figure that one out.
It'll be great, whatever it is. All right, all sorts of cool stuff, but that's it for today's streaming. Hope you had fun, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.